Maggie for inviting me. Our Chance program is an 8-week program. It's an 8-week curriculum of employment readiness training. Folks in there are writing their resumes, getting them up online, starting to apply for jobs, working on their interview skills. We do mock interviews with them. And then once a month at Perryville and Phoenix West right now, Manzanita, we've been doing quarterly, but at Perryville and Phoenix West, we do have monthly hiring events in the last week of every month. This month is a little different only because Thanksgiving is the last week, so we're doing it next week. And we have not scheduled an event for December just because of the holidays. So after next week, we'll pick back up in January. In addition to the embedded second chance centers in those 3 particular units where there actually are computer labs and classroom space, we also have the RED classes. So the RED program is virtual, but even though it is virtual and it is condensed into a 4-week curriculum, it is the same material that's being covered in the 8-week curriculum with the folks who are in person in a second chance center. And we generally reach another 8 to 12 units statewide through the RED virtual class. And with the RED class, we do an employer presentation day. Usually it's one of the days in the last week of their curriculum. And that way we can get on usually 4 or 5 employers in the hour. Each employer gets time to speak about their opportunities and then take questions. Just like we're, meeting right now in Zoom, we use Google Meets, and each one of us happens to be in a square right now where in the RED class, that one square is a whole classroom, and there could be 10, 20 people per square. So if we've got 5 units on, in that hour, you're reaching about 100 people. And it's amazing the conversations that we have because we do take questions from the class participants. So it's been great. You'll see in a little bit, I have a quick video clip to share of somebody who went through the RED program and had success. We really do have job seekers who, upon their release, they reach out to the employers that they've met on the employer presentation day, and they're applying and getting jobs. So even virtually, it's working. It's working well. So let's see here. In the community-based setting, we are in the parole and probation offices. So we're at Phoenix Parole, Mesa Parole, Pima County Adult Probation, the Pima Reentry Center. We're also at the Maricopa Reentry Center, MRC. We work with Native Health, and we do work with several other different locations statewide who are also community resource partners, and we can hold hiring events in their space as well. So I've hit on some of these items here. What do we do in the Second Chance Center? And even in the employment services roles that we play in the parole and probation offices where we have DES staff located, we get everyone registered in the Arizona Job Connection website. We affectionately call that AJC. We help them build those resumes, write their cover letters. We help with job referrals. So, if you're posting your jobs in the Arizona Job Connection website, our employment services counselors are able to direct job seekers who are a good fit for those positions to apply for them. So it's always good to post in the Arizona Job Connection website. It is at no cost to employers, as long as those positions are W-2 payroll and payroll positions. They cannot be 1099 positions to post on the AJC. Of course, we offer career guidance, that interview preparations, like I mentioned, everything from mock interviews and interview etiquette. And we follow up with our job seekers in 30, 60, and 90-day increments to see how they're doing. Have they taken work? How's it going? Do they need additional assistance in their job search? And of course, we can help them with their basic computer skills, even if they need an email address created. And we do that in the Second Chance Centers. So as you can see in that lower picture, that is one of the computer labs we have at a Second Chance Center in the prisons. And they do have internet access. And if you were interested in interviewing someone before their release, that's no problem. We can organize a virtual interview in a setting just like this on Zoom or Google Meets. If you're wondering, how soon could someone be available to work? If they are in the Second Chance Center, they enter the program 60 days from their date of release. And generally, when they're kind of halfway through the program, that's when they're attending the hiring event, so about 30 days out. But if you should attend a hiring event with me in the prisons, that doesn't mean to say someone might not be releasing tomorrow. So people could be, readily available. Of course, if you attend a hiring event in the communities, then those folks are going to be available immediately or just whenever they are personally available. So like I said, we do those job fairs and we do them virtually and in person. Awesome. So in terms of doing the reentry employer outreach, the results have been both for in-person and virtual, having those monthly in-person hiring events at the Second Chance Centers, the monthly virtual Red Class employer presentations, and quarterly hiring events within the community at those parole and probation offices and our community partner locations. To the right of that, you'll just see that Second Chance logo. That is just, it's the logo from the registration form that I put the link in the chat. So if you look in the chat, you'll find all my contact information and a link. That link will take you out to the schedule of all my events, and you can register for them. I do recommend bookmarking that link because I do update it. So where it says 2024 right now, by next month, that's already going to say 2025, and I'll have some of the events already posted for next year coming up pretty soon, and you'll be able to register for those. And we've gotten amazing employer feedback. Some of our employers who come to almost every hiring event because they're doing so well finding people include Progressive Roofing. They say the Second Chance Center job seekers present themselves better than those I've met at the events I pay to attend. And that is Megan from Progressive Roofing. Dwayne from Titan Engineered Solution tells us that if I find one qualified candidate, that's a good event for me. That day, he found 6, and he hired 3 of them. So that I know. And Industrial Metal Supply also, I really think you guys have your stuff together. I enjoyed the exposure to these folks in transition, and I look forward to working with you in the future. You have done so much to encourage us and support us. You've been a friend to IMS. Thank you very much. So the employers who are using the program are finding that it works, and they're happy with it. So in fact, I want to share one of those success stories with you. I just need to change which screen I'm sharing. So let me figure that out. Oh, here. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to share a new screen. And then I'll jump back. Okay, it's going to be black for a moment, and I will go ahead and play it. If you can't hear or see it, let me know, please.
My name is Ron Hegbrand, and I am a welder fabricator for Titan Engineered Solutions. I have about 20 years experience in the welding industry as a fabricator. The last year before I got out of prison, I really started thinking, what do I want to do when I get out of here? And then through the Second Chance Center, I found out about Titan.
Titan Engineered Solutions is a company that builds and manufactures custom items for mining copper.
I met Dwayne, and he gave his presentation. Everything he was saying was just clicking in my head. I do that, I've done that. During that presentation, I knew that I wanted to work for Titan.
And Titan was looking to hire people like Vaughn.
Vaughn is one of our Second Chance employees. Yeah, I was tasked with trying to change the way we hire people to where we get more long-term employees. And so first contacted DES, and the person said, hey, are you open to background challenge individuals? So we're like, yes. From there, we've been in the Second Chance program for 2 years.
The Second Chance program is a joint initiative between the Arizona Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation, and Reentry and the Department of Economic Security to help reduce recidivism and prepare inmates for work.
Basically, my job is to get our clients, which is our inmates, ready to re-enter the community by providing pro-social programming. So that is substance use and the management, effective communication, de-escalation skills, money management, along with the Department of Economic Security. They work with them regarding employment, how to write a resume, and how to advocate for themselves. How to tell the employer about their experience and move on and give the employee for that company.
How we get involved with all employees, we go actually into the prisons and recruit. We also go to the parole offices that have job fairs. And then we also participate in the RED program, which is a virtual way to present ourselves to the potential employees that are currently incarcerated. Vaughn is an incredible worker. He's always challenging himself to be better. and try to produce the best quality product we can produce.
I think Dwayne's a good boss because he doesn't look at the people coming out of prison as criminals. He looks at them as guys that need another chance.
We've got over 25% of our workforce from the second chance community, and we strongly believe in it and continue to recruit and will continue.
Our goal is to keep your loved ones out, keep them from coming back to us. Arizona recidivism rate is 32%. For all the second chance programs, we had under 10%. So we have a lot of successes with second chance.
Everything has just been falling into place because of that preparation and planning, and meeting people like Dwayne and my sponsor and the people that I know in recovery. Because everything's going so well, I don't want to lose that. I love what I do, and it makes me happy.
Excellent. I will jump back to the presentation. All right, perfect. So I love sharing that story because I was there. In fact, Dwayne had called me up after being part of the Red Class Employer Presentation Day and said, Jen, I got a handwritten letter from that guy in the Red Class who was asking all those questions. I said, yes, I remember the questions. I didn't understand any of them. They were so technical. He said, how can I interview him? I said, well, let's find out, what unit he's in. And he happened to be at the Winchester unit, which was on the Tucson complex. And I said, well, you know what? Come with me to the Manzanita hiring event. And then I will get his clearance to go to Winchester. And why don't you interview him in person? And so that's what we were able to do. The interesting thing also for Titan is that they only have one location in the whole state, and that's in Chandler. So at first Dwayne was like, well, why would I want to go recruit at Manzanita? I said, well, even though Manzanita is located in Tucson, about a good 60% of the individuals there, when they release, will return to Maricopa County. So that day that he came to the hiring event at Manzanita, with the intention of interviewing Vaughn at the Winchester unit, he actually did meet someone who he also hired out of the Manzanita unit. And then we went over to the Winchester unit, interviewed Vaughn, and and the rest is history. It's there in the video. Vaughn got his job, and it's been working out great for them. So how should you handle the conversation? If you are interested in second chance hiring and you're at that point where you're interviewing someone and you know that the criminal background is going to come up, how do you handle that conversation? Especially if your organization isn't necessarily just upfront background friendly, maybe it's more a case-by-case situation. What I really look for in an employer who is background friendly is that they're just willing to have the conversation. It doesn't mean you have to hire every single person who applies to you from our program. So the first question and set of questions would be, what is your hiring process? So this is kind of some internal, introspection. Does your job application ask an individual to disclose their background? What questions can and can't your hiring managers ask? Do you conduct background checks for new hires, or do you only conduct background checks at the time of promotion? So I have a couple of different employers in mind as I'm thinking of these questions. I know for a fact that CVS Healthcare, and they're huge. They have trained their hiring managers to not ask the personal questions. They said, just let everything play out in the background checking process, and we will cross those hurdles when we get to them. So the hiring manager is free to truly extend an offer to someone that they feel is going to be an awesome fit for that role and an awesome fit for their team and for the organization. So it takes the pressure off of the hiring manager to not have to worry about those personal issues. I have seen plenty of employers do the new hire, do background checks at the time that they extend the offer. However, I've seen some employers where they don't do background checks upon hire, and only once that person is on board, and if that person should apply internally, say for a promotion to a supervisory or management position, do they then run a background check. I've had those employers come to me and ask, are we discriminating? Is this a problem? Why do we have so many people, leave us after they try to, promote from within? And it turns out because they're being knocked out at the background check process at the time that they're trying to promote, after they've already invested their time and their effort into the organization. And now it's like a slap in the face because the organization's saying, well, you were good enough to do the entry-level job, but now we don't want you anymore. So which is it? Were they good enough for your organization, or are they not what you want for your organization? So you might want to, if you don't do your background checks at the beginning of the process upon hire, you might want to examine at what point in the process are you doing them? And is that really benefiting your organization? The second set of questions is, hey, what's included in your background check? So the question is, how many years back does your background check go? Does it go back 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? Generally, they tend to go back in the range of 7 or 10 years. But do they go back from the date of conviction or from the date of release? If they go back from date of conviction and someone has been incarcerated for 10 or more years, chances are that that particular conviction shouldn't even come up on your background. However, if you're checking from date of release, and they've come from the Second Chance Center, chances are they were just released a few days ago or a few weeks ago, and so that might not clear your background check. Another question is, if you are a case-by-case organization, do you screen out for specific offenses? I've seen employers who say no aggravated crimes, no violent crimes, no crimes against children, and there's reasons for those questions. Maybe your organization, your client base could be schools. That could be a problem for somebody who can't be in or around a school. And the best way around those questions isn't just to outright say, hey, are you a sex offender? Because you don't want to ask such personal questions. You just keep the question general. We work on location at schools and other locations like that. Would there be any situations that would bar you from being able to work on that job site? If they say yes, you don't need any further explanation than that. Then you know you wouldn't be able to staff them on those projects. If you have the capacity to staff them elsewhere, that's fantastic. If you don't have that capacity or that opportunity is not always available, I understand it might be hard to hire that individual because you wouldn't always have work that's appropriate to their needs. And finally, the third set of questions to ask yourself is, what happens if something does come back in that background check report? Will disclosure be an automatic rejection if they've told you up front? Will a negative report be, again, an automatic rejection? Or are you willing to have a conversation with that person? Hey, I understand something happened in your past, but what have you done to change that in your life? And what are you willing and planning to do going forward to not have that happen again in your life? So will you have that conversation? And basically, kind of like I said, what does that conversation look like? What kind of questions are you asking? So those are some guides you might like to use in your interviewing process if you're concerned about what happens when, these things crop up. Additionally, there are lots of benefits to working with Arizona at Work and specifically with second chance job seekers. There are awesome benefits to you as the employer, to your business, and there are benefits to both you and to the job seeker in terms of being able to take that job, keep helping retain those people and helping keep those people trained up. So we're going to go through each 4 of those quadrants. Specifically, the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, or the WOTC, the WETC, is a federal tax credit back to your business for hiring people from select target populations who face significant barriers to employment. Now, you'll see that's a pretty general definition because that select target population of people could be people who've been long-term unemployed due to incarceration, due to their veteran status, due to their long-term unemployment status, due to maybe their disability status. Maybe they've been on benefits, on state benefits like SNAP. All of these are reasons that someone could qualify you to receive a tax credit if you should hire that individual. If someone checks more than one of those boxes or all of those boxes, that tax credit back to your business is going to range from $1,200 to $9,600 per new hire. Now, if you're thinking, who do I have on staff who might fall into one of these buckets and can I get the tax credit? There is a time frame in which you have to file that, and that's within their first 28 days of employment. So if that person's been with you longer than 28 days, unfortunately, you will not be able to file a claim for that tax credit. However, it's something that you can certainly institute going forward. This only requires 2 forms, and I highly recommend including those 2 forms in your new hire packet for all new hires, not just folks who might come through our program. Because if someone was to walk in off the street, do a job application with you, you have no idea what their background could be and if they could check one or more of those boxes and you know, score you a tax credit. Federal bonding. This is another federal incentive to employers for hiring people who are considered to be high-risk job seekers. It is a fidelity bond. It's like having insurance. It is at no cost to you to sign up for it. There is no deductible if you should have to make a claim. If something should go wrong, make a claim. Something should go missing. Something should break. Those claims are paid out in $5,000 increments up to $25,000 per claim. And God forbid more than one thing should happen. Yes, you can file multiple claims if you have to. But like I said, it is the federal government incentivizing employers to take a chance on those at-risk job seekers. Generally, they're at risk because they've been unemployed for so long that, you know, you might be hesitant to hire that person, you know, at first blush. Then there's the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA. WIOA is there to help the individual, to help the job seeker break down barriers to employment. But by helping the job seeker break down those barriers, it is also helpful to your organization. So for instance, one of our really active employers, Progressive Roofing, I know when they hire somebody, it is required that their roofers have their own tools. Well, we know tools are expensive, and if you are just recently released, chances are you don't have tools, you don't even have the money necessarily to purchase all of those tools. They know the routine, they make an offer to that individual, they print out an offer letter, and they print out a list of the required tools for the job. That individual then comes down to their local Arizona at Work office. They find out if they're eligible or not, and chances are they will be eligible for WIOA benefits. And when they are established to be eligible, they'll receive a $500 tool voucher to go and buy those tools on that required tool list. We don't usually just cover work boots, but if it is on that required tool list, chances are it will be covered as well for the purchase of the boots. Those WIOA funds also help in lots of other ways. If you have an employee who maybe they're having an attendance issue because they're a single parent, or maybe they are caring for an elderly parent at home, send them down, see if they're eligible for WIOA funds, because there could be funds there for dependent care costs, which would then help free that person up to be at work and have better attendance at work, because they wouldn't have to worry about what's going on with their dependent because they'll have the coverage. So there's really a lot of things in that benefit that can support your job seeker, support your employee, and in turn benefit your organization because it helps give that person a more stable footing. And then registered apprenticeships. My guess is you're all pretty familiar or already using registered apprenticeships. If you're not using a registered apprenticeship already and you have skills and trades and vocations within your organization that can, you know, be trained on the job, I highly recommend getting in touch with the registered apprenticeship team. And if you'd like me to do that for you, I'm happy to make that introduction. But this is a great way to invest in your employees. And when you invest in your employees for their training, they will in turn invest in you, and you will have a greater opportunity of retaining those individuals. It's going to help with your recruiting, because if there are people out there, whether they be, you know, graduating high school or being released from prison, and they don't have a skill and they want to, you know, learn a skill, build a career, a registered apprenticeship is a very attractive recruiting tool to attract people to your organization. And then, like I said, you make that investment in them and they're going to stick with you. So now you've recruited them and you'll be retaining them too. And so just to share with you some community resources in addition to those 4 things through Arizona at Work, we've got lots of community resource partners that we work with. And so if you have someone who has any of these particular needs, you can look these folks up, or you can reach out to me and I'd be happy to connect you to these resources. Of course, you've got us, Arizona at Work, and you want to send folks to their local one-stop office. So for instance, I'm with DES, I work at the state level. It is the local offices at the county or city level, like Maricopa County, Pima County, City of Phoenix, City of Tucson, Mojave County, who actually control those WIOA dollars. So those WIOA grants they're going to get them not from me in DES, but from your local Arizona at Work office at your county or city level. Dress for success. Why am I talking about dress for success? And we're here, we're contractors, we're in construction. Well, dress for success isn't just suits for women for interviews anymore. It is so much more. They will clothe both men and women. They will offer them one interview outfit. And upon receiving an offer letter, they can come in with that offer letter and get 5 days of work appropriate clothing. So if they're working in a laboring position, they're not going to get office, office attire. They will get proper work clothes to help them for 5 days. Although Dress for Success is located in Phoenix, they can help individuals statewide. Just go onto their website, fill out the form. I think it shoots an email off to them. Make sure that person sends them their measurements, and they will ship out a style box with the clothing to that individual who needs the clothes. So it doesn't matter where in Arizona you are. These are 3 different organizations, RASA Legal, Community Legal Services, and the Arizona Democracy Resource Center. All 3 of these organizations can help with these particular resources, helping people with marijuana conviction expungements, set-asides, getting their rights restored so that they can vote, and fingerprints clearance cards. So even though it seems like, a person's not going to get a fingerprint clearance card, well, upon the initial application for one, yes, they will be denied. However, it's part of the process, because the next step for that individual is then to appeal the denial. And then they go through the appeals process, and it may just take that person a little longer than the average person, but it is possible for that person to get their fingerprint clearance card. And I won't say necessarily 100% of the time, but they can help most people work through that. First Convenience Bank has been an amazing partner with us. They help individuals open bank accounts when they may not have all of the necessary documentation and identification that other banks are going to ask for. And what is so important about having a bank account is that if they are working for you and you're paying them and they need to cash that check, to take it to the local check cashing place and they take a large percentage of it, that hurts. So to help someone get their bank account set up right away so that they can actually keep all the money in their paycheck for themselves is really, really beneficial. So we want to help folks do that. A couple other resources. If anyone in your organization is having trouble making rent, paying for their utilities, with transportation, getting to and from work, tell them to reach out to 211. They can call it, they can go online. I believe it's 211.org. And just put in what it is that they need, and it will spit out the resources for them. I have used it to help people who have been living in their vehicle, find immediate shelter, and then to find a more long-term housing solution. So 211 is good for anybody in Arizona with any of these needs, and even beyond those 3 items. Now, the Inside Out Network is fantastic. This connects returning citizens, so people who have recently been released, with various service providers. It could be service providers similar to what 211 offers. It could be therapeutic providers. It could be rehabilitative providers. Anything, any type of support an individual could need upon release. I would definitely go to the Inside Out Network. All DUI services. If anyone has an issue with their driver's license, whether it's DUI related or not, they can help. So if someone needs a DUI screening, or if they need to take the classes or be monitored, if they need an interlock device, the SR22, they can help obtain all of these things. There is a cost to their services. It's not free, but they can help with any type of driver's license issue. And Freebird Auto. Freebird Auto is amazing. They are a for-profit business. But they are a second chance auto dealer, and the owner of the company was a second chance participant himself in one of the first classes that went through the Second Chance Center program while he was incarcerated, and he wanted to give back. So he helps people who are recent reentry get into their first car. It may not be the most gorgeous car, but it's going to have 4 wheels and it's going to go forward. It's going to work, and it's going to get them to work. And the idea is that they have transportation, because that is one of the biggest barriers to employment, is getting to the job. They can get the job, but can they get to the job? So having that transportation is so key. And then when they're ready and able to, they can upgrade that car and bring it back to Freebird, and they can then get a better car, a different car, a bigger car to meet their needs. And finally, that brings me to me. I did put this information in the chat as well. I'm Jen Fixman. I am a reentry employer coordinator. I do the reentry employer outreach for DES. That is my email address, first initial, last name, at azdes.gov. And that is my work cell phone. You can call me, text me, you can always get me there. And also in the chat, I did put the link into, like I said, the schedule of events and the registration form. I would love to have you folks come down to our hiring events, both the in-prison, in-person, virtual, in community. And if anyone is interested in attending hiring events in the prisons, just a side note, we are all considered visitors. So we do all need to have clearance, and I can submit your clearance request. I would just need a copy of the front and back of your driver's license. The same for anybody else who you want to have cleared from your organization, and you can participate in our hiring events. If you have someone that you would like to have clearance who has previously had a DOC number of their own, and has been through the state prison system, just give me a heads up, let me know, and I will send you an additional form. And that person would just need to complete the form in addition to sending their ID.